St. Louis, the gateway to the West, is now the gateway to the best.
Swing and get up, baby! Get up! Get up! Get up! Get up! Home
The game is over. The series is over. The wait is over.
All right, what's happening, nerds? This is John Nerding Out with Cards, and as you can see, we got Jeff from A Fine Collector on here. Jeff, how are you doing?
I'm good. How you doing, John?
Yeah, doing all right. Obviously, we know what's going on, and it's why it's pretty special having you on here. You know, both of us started within a month of each other here on the YouTube, and Steve was like a week and a half ahead of when I started. So, like I think you've described it as, the OG friends,
Yeah.
class of 2025.
Yep.
So it's awesome getting to talk to you.
Yeah.
Having you come here on the channel, I do appreciate that, and you for doing that.
Anytime. I appreciate you having me on. And Steve was one of those channels, like you mentioned, where just one of the guys that I connected with right off the bat, when I started my channel. And actually, I mentioned this, but I watched one of his first videos, I think his introduction video before I started, or before I joined YouTube or making content on YouTube. And his video was one of those reasons why, because the way I felt about certain things, he felt the exact way. And he mentioned that and started his channel. And I was like, I got to start a channel. And so I did. And then surprisingly, he commented on my first video, and then we just kind of went from there. And, we just kind of clicked and have been friends ever since. So, it's been a tough week, but it's good to be here with you and doing this.
Yeah, I think unfortunately it just makes this time that we're having right now feel more valuable than maybe it would have otherwise, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely makes you appreciate these times, right, that you get with, your friends in the community, and to be able to sit down and do these, one-to-ones and FaceTimes or StreamYards or whatever they are. So, yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate appreciate your blue background today.
Yeah, I figured, Jeff, the Cubs fan, and that's the thing, like, kind of going back to, what we've been talking about represents, right? The card community that you hear everybody talk about so much. It's you're a Cubs fan, I'm a Cardinals fan, and somehow we came together, right? And became friends and support each other's channels. And it's just kind of funny what these baseball cards and this YouTube will do to us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's funny. It's like we all have this commonality. We're all baseball fans, right? And of course, here baseball card fans. But it's like we're all baseball fans, and we all just happen to grow up in different parts of the country that have teams. So it's like, there's always this rivalry between us and our teams and divisions and all that stuff. But it's just like, at the end of the day, we're all just baseball fans, and we're rooting for our team that we grew up around, And so, you come here or anywhere, and, you end up like, it's always the guy behind the camera why you stick around for the channel, right? It's like, I love your channel and what you do and how you collect, and whether it's Ozzie Smith cards or whatever other Cardinals you collect. It's like I stick around because ultimately I like you, right, as a friend. And so and I like the way you collect and all that kind of stuff. So it's important, and this is just a great place and a great community to be.
Yeah, definitely. And I think as we'll go on in the video, I mean, there's the specifics, like a team that's on the cards or players that are on the cards, but you can apply that to what you collect. It could be a different team, it could be a different player, it could be a different era, but there's a lot of symmetry there, so or commonality, more so than I think what we realize. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But do you want to take this time to kind of, I guess, describe your channel? I mean, there might be 2 people subscribing to me that don't know who you are. So,
I doubt that. I think
let's reach those couple people, man.
There's probably a lot more than that. But I mean, I am, so, obviously you can see it here and, underneath here, but my channel is A Fine Card Collector. Came up with that name. The reason that is my channel name is because when I was a kid, me and some friends, we used to always joke that we are not fine art collectors, we're fine card collectors. And so after our first few videos here on YouTube, I ended up changing my name to what it was for years and years, just watching videos and stuff, and had to apply it more to like a baseball card theme. So that's the best I can come up with. But yeah, I mean, I'm from Chicago. I born and raised in Chicago, suburbs of Chicago, and then moved out to California when I was 26 or 27, and so I've been here since, so almost 20 years. But I'm still loyal to all my Chicago teams. Cubs fan, Bulls fan, Bears fan, Blackhawks fan. But I also collect, I'm a big Hall of Fame collector. John, I know you're not. See, there's another thing how we're different, right? You're very Cardinals Hall of Fame. I'm very just Hall of Fame. But yeah, I mean, I collect all sorts of stuff, right? A lot of Chicago stuff, and then some Hall of Fame stuff, and then a lot of 80s stuff, right? I grew up in the 80s, and I just loved baseball in the 80s and early 90s, and all of those players from that era are very nostalgic to me. So I love the 80s, I love the 70s as well. I love the early 90s when you started getting into inserts and stuff like that. So, I mean, I collect all over the place.
Yeah, your channel's awesome because like there's something for everybody. There's basketball, there's the different eras, there's something for everybody to enjoy watching your channel. And I think that's part of what makes it so great. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hope so. Sometimes I wonder, sometimes you think about a video you want to put out and you're like, oh, I shouldn't put this video out because half of the people who are probably subscribed to me don't care about this, But it's one of those things. I just have to put out what I enjoy and just hope people are there because, maybe they like me and whatever else. But yeah, I
Yeah,
appreciate that compliment.
yeah, and I'm not against the Hall of Fame. It's just I
I
hate
think you
the
are. I think you are.
no, the Hall of Fame itself didn't do anything. It's just the negativity that comes with it, right? Every time
Yeah.
there's a Hall of Fame announcement, it's the who didn't get in, or
Yeah.
why did they get in, or they shouldn't be in, and I don't care for any of that, right? Like if I was good at baseball, I would not be on YouTube. I would have been playing baseball. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I think, and I
I don't.
appreciate. Oh,
How can I
go on.
speak to Harold Baines' worthiness and to be in the Hall of Fame? He's a lightning rod. That's why I bring up his name.
Yeah, definitely.
And so what an accomplishment for him, and to speak negatively on it constantly is annoying to listen to,
Yeah,
I guess.
yeah. I understand that perspective. I think for me, it's probably less passionate, or I'm less passionate about it than you. I think for me is, I guess I don't really dig into the decision too much, and it's ultimately who's in the Hall of Fame, and it is what it is. And for me, I'm doing that Hall of Fame players post-war rookie run, right? So to me, it's ultimately just, that's the stuff I'm collecting, is like I want to do a run of all these Hall of Famers, and I don't look into it too much. I'm probably not as passionate about it. It's just something I like to collect. And so, I don't know. That's, again, it's just, I just don't really, not caring about it isn't the right words, right? But it's just one of those things. I just let it be, and I just go with the flow, right? I'm easygoing. I just kind of go with the flow, and I don't debate too much.
Yeah, I mean, in the base, we're kind of going off on a tangent, but the history of baseball is so expansive. And if you want to collect the history of baseball, you have to limit that scope somehow.
Oh, that's a great
And
point. Absolutely.
the Hall of Fame is an excellent scope that's already defined that
Oh,
will
I thought you
cover.
were going to go the opposite way with this. And I thought you were going to ultimately say you can't just collect the Hall of Fame. But to your
No,
point, yes, like the Hall of Fame is a great kind of like a little niche or a little scope that keeps you on track and focused on something. Right.
yeah. And you
But it
can go,
definitely does not. It cannot define the entirety or the history of baseball.
yeah, but I mean, you can go as far back as you want and all that good stuff. But before we go on, I thought this would be kind of funny, but you know, a lot of people might know you as Mr. Mag Pro.
I know. I do a
What?
lot with that, but I
Yeah,
just love it. So
yeah, you took like the whole like YouTube card community by storm with that little like, hey, you know, let's trade labels. But
trading mag pros and stuff, labels.
yeah, and so to that point, you know, you made a couple for me that I'll show here, but for the Roberto Clemente collection and my Patrick Maroon collection.
Hmm.
So a little bit of an example of you know, Jeff's creativity.
We got to get you a
And
channel label. We got to get you a channel label.
I don't I'm not ready to brand myself, you know what I'm
I
saying?
know. I know. I
Um,
know.
but then of course you know, you sent me some cards there a while back.
I need to
Um,
get some Cubs in your collection.
that's funny you say that. I have not showed this on my channel yet, but you did influence me, and I did buy this Bruce Sutter rookie
Uh
card.
huh. I love it. I love it.
Um,
See, we can
and
all
then,
influence each other.
exactly. And then who can't forget these? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, I had to. I wanted to make the one for you, and I wanted to get you the rookie too. That was the plan. The plan was to get you a rookie, but then
Unbelievable.
because I remember in one of your videos, I had, you know, you had sent me some stuff, and I had to get you back. And I know in one of your videos, it was like you had said that you probably wouldn't ever buy it, right? You just like for
Yeah,
you, it's just whatever. He's in a Cubs uniform and blah blah blah. But
yeah.
I was like, all right, that has to be the card I get John. And I was like, all right, well, I have to use little AI and put him in a Cardinals uniform and change up the verbiage a little bit. And yeah, I think it came out pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's funny. You're gonna think this is dumb, all right?
Probably
But
not, but
you look at these cards, right? It's got the blue and the red, you know, and then yeah, you've seen this on like cartoons and movies, but it's kind of like the angel of the devil on your shoulder, you know what I mean?
is the yeah.
And then the last one, and this is I think is gonna lead into like what I really want to, you know, like kind of like pick your brain about
Hmm.
is you have a special collection that you have going on,
Yeah.
and you sent me this Wilson Contreras Topps
Hmm.
Gold,
Hmm.
but it's for your 2016 Cubs World Series collection that you have going on. Which
Yep.
again, look at this Cubs Cardinals fan talking to each other, and I'm telling you, I want to talk about your 2016 Cubs World Series collection.
I love it. Let's do it.
You know, I remember when it happened, I thought hell was going to freeze over. I was wrong. I was wrong. But kind of like, you know, describe to, you know, whoever's watching, like that moment for you.
Oh,
What was it like?
it was incredible. So, all right. So, you know, Cubs make the World Series, right? And they won their first game, right? And I forgot the exact day of the week that their game was. It was either a Wednesday or maybe it was earlier in the week. I don't remember. But they won their first game. And after they won that game, their next three games
Yep.
were it was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday game, right? And so I'm living in LA at the time, and I was like, I need to fly back to Chicago, and not with the intent to go to the games, but I was like, I need to be in Chicago for these World Series. Like, if they so happen to sweep Cleveland, right? I want to be in Chicago for them winning the World Series, and so I flew to Chicago. And then we lost those. No, did we? What was it? What happened there?
Yeah,
I'm
they
trying to
lost.
remember what I think they won the first one. They lost the next three, right?
Yeah,
Okay. And then I think that weekend they lost. They lost three, but for some reason I feel like when I was there on a Sunday, they won that game. So maybe that was
well,
game four or whatever,
yeah.
or game
Well, they were down
five.
three. Yeah, they were down three
Three
games.
one. And yeah, so but I was in Chicago hoping that they were gonna they would win there, and they didn't. So I flew back home to LA, and we lived in this area where, if you're familiar with Chicago, there's a there's this real popular street in Chicago. It's called Rush Street, and it's just lined with bars, and so it's like everybody goes out at Rush Street in Chicago, and so there was a bar where I lived called Rush Street, and it was a Chicago bar, but it was a nice place. It was like a restaurant bar, first floor all restaurant, and then the second floor was more bar atmosphere, but it was a nice place. And yeah, we ended up going to that bar for the last 2 games or whatever it was, and or 3 games where they won all 3 then. And yeah, I just remember it was incredible. Like the place was lined with Chicago fans. Like it must have been over capacity, lined with Chicago fans. And I still have videos. One day when when we actually meet in person, I got to show you the videos. But I still have videos. And just at the end of it, I had my phone out and everybody was celebrating. And we were upstairs. And so we were looking down below and everybody was jumping up and down. Everybody upstairs was jumping up and down and going crazy. And we thought that like it wasn't a balcony, but we were like worried about that floor collapsing in there. I mean, it was incredible. Definitely one of the greatest moments of my life, and then, and then after it sinks in, you see all those videos about how, and I'm sure every, team does this, but like, especially in Chicago with the drought of, 100 years or 108 years, right? Since their last World Series win, you see all these videos of like these people going to like their father's or their grandfather's grave and, putting stuff down or, like Chicago Cub memorabilia. And it's just like, I mean, I get chills just thinking about it, but, it's just special, like a really special moment that, most of our parents and grandparents have never witnessed in their lives. And then finally we have the opportunity to witness that and experience it. And it's like, that's it. I'm good. That's all I needed in my life.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember seeing all of that too. Like the one that's kind of sticks out in my mind is like Harry Carey. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
Harry Carey would have loved that. I was just like, he called the World Series.
Yeah.
64 and he was
Yeah.
the Cardinals announcer when they won the
Sure.
World Series. So
Sure.
it's like he already no. That
Yeah.
was just me being a Cardinals fan jerk, right? But the but is the reason why I ask, right? Because I think many of us, our teams have won a World Series within our lifetime. Like Rob Cash Cards has talked about like that 1990 team. Obviously, I
Yeah.
have 06 and 11, and
Yep.
Yankees fans have a lot. Well, but we didn't have that 108-year narrative. Red Sox had something similar. White
Yep.
Sox had something
Yep.
similar,
Yep.
and so it's. I think you all experience it on a different perspective, and the only thing I can equate it to is like when the St. Louis Blues won the Stanley Cup. It was 52 years, and like the lead up to
Oh
that.
wow.
You know what I mean? It's just like, I, you know, yeah, there's something different. It makes it different for sure. So that's why I wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, I feel like it's different, but of course I don't know, right? It's like I have these reasons why I feel like it's different and how it's, as it's been so long and, with just, the whole parents and grandparents thing. And I just feel like that team was, for the most part, it's like all of their stars were the players that for the most part came up through the Cubs farm system,
all
and
at
I
the same time.
remember, I'm sorry.
All at the same time too.
Yeah,
Schwarber.
exactly. And
Yes.
I remember years before, like one of my best friends talking about how like the Cubs, give it 4 years. And of course you hear every team says that, right? Oh, we're in the rebuilding stage and whatever else. But it was like, give it 4 years. And I remember some of the players, that he was talking about in their minor league or their farm system, and then, sure enough, they all end up being pretty good players. And then Cubs did what they did, so it was a lot of fun. It felt very special. But again, I'm sure to all of you guys who experience multiple World Series in your lifetimes, they all feel just as special.
Well, I mean, it's got to be different. You know what I mean? And even still, like I value the, let's say, 2006 World Series more than, let's say, my dad does, but he had the 82 series. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
anyway, but how long was it after that you started collecting cards of that team?
Um, yeah, years because it's something, I've been collecting again as an adult off and on, but I probably stopped collecting as a kid in like let's say 94. And then I didn't collect anything else until probably 2008, right? So I took probably a 14-year hiatus. And then from 2008 to now, I've stopped for periods of time, but it's felt pretty consistent, right? So then Cubs won in 2016, and it's something I've been thinking about doing since then.
Yeah.
But I probably didn't start until God, probably like 2022. So just like 4 years ago. And it's not something that was my focus by any means. It was something I would just pick some things up here and there. And ultimately in mind, it's like I wanted to do something with it. It was like, it was like I want to have some sort of display, right? I like ideally I'd like to display some of this stuff. And then it's like, well, how am I going to do it? How am I going to collect this stuff? And what cards am I going to target and buy? And now it's gotten to a point where it's like I bought too many to display. So I have to figure out like what that display would look like. But I still love the cards and I'm still buying them and I still don't have everything I want, but I'm getting close. I'm getting pretty close.
So I got an idea for you
Okay.
before we move on. But you can have a display, right? And then as a part of the display, something like a ledge thingy or whatever that you can put a binder on.
That's a pretty good idea, actually.
So
So like you have
the big time cards, they're front and center, like looking at you.
Yeah.
And then if you want, you can walk up to it and flip the reminder.
Ooh, that's a good idea. Although, see, I don't have anything displayed in my house. There is no cards up on the wall except what you see in my videos in the garage. Right? That's in the garage. But yeah, in the house, I'm still trying to work on my wife. On that. There's a perfect spot that we have that is kind of my space in the house anyway. But from afar, my wife would have to look at it and see baseball cards on the wall, and she's not down for that yet. But I'm slowly trying to work on it. But I think that is a great idea. If I can ever get her to budge on that, I think that's actually a really good idea. Yeah, I like it. Did you just think of that now, or is that something that you do or have done, or
no, it just
popped up in your head?
But I like binder collections, man. I like binders.
I do too. And
like
and going
about having a lot of cards.
Yeah,
binders is like my mind just goes straight to it.
I know. And the problem with me now is though with like the whole Mag Pro thing, I just love like the labels and how they differentiate different collections, and so it's like I like my cards in Mag Pros.
But so these cards you sent me, I keep them in a page.
Yeah, that's true. I what would be nice, because you got a lot of slack in that page though, right? Like there's a lot of, be nice if they made, no, is it pretty tight?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I try that.
And there's another page type too that is more secure, so to speak. It's got like a flap that goes over it.
Oh, okay.
But the back is like opaque, so you can't really read the back if that's what you wanted to do. So
that's okay. If it was in a binder, you could always pull them out, and if you really wanted to see what it was. But yeah, no, I actually really like that idea. That's a great idea.
Thanks. But so what do you remember being the first like definition of that collection? Like, this is what I'm gonna collect. Like whether it's a checklist you put on paper or it was just a checklist in your head. What was the first definition of it?
I think it was, I just wanted to represent, I wanted it to represent every player on that team, and it doesn't, right? I don't have every player, right? There was guys that, some pitchers that pitched 15 innings throughout the course of the whole season, and I don't buy that stuff. It's mainly the guys that I remember, right? The guys that had an impact. And some of these guys even didn't really have a big impact, but I do vaguely remember them. They had playing time, and I remember their names, and I remember them on the team. So that's how I think I have 30 different players, so which is kind of a lot for a team, right? But I have 30 players, and then Joe Madden, the manager as well. But when I initially started it, I wanted it to be. At first, I just wanted to have if their rookie card was a Chicago Cubs card, I wanted their rookie card. And if their rookie card was not, if it was not on the Chicago Cubs, I just wanted their first card on the Chicago Cubs, or not even their first card, their first year, right? So if like their first, say they started on, whatever team, right? And then they came to the Cubs halfway through their career. Let's say they came to the Cubs in 2013. And let's say their first card of them was on the Cubs in 2014, then I would just pick my favorite of their 2014 cards.
Okay.
And then
that was gonna
So
be
that's
my
how it
next
started.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be my next question would be like, so what card do you pick, right? I think by that point in time, Topps had the monopoly, but Topps had many different brands, within its umbrella. So it's like, do you pick the flagship, the Chrome, Topps Fire, all these different things that they've made over time, Topps Heritage. So it's like, how did you go about picking which one at that time?
Yeah, I think when I was doing it then, yeah, I think I was most interested in. I really like first Bowman Chromes, right? I've always kind of liked first Bowman Chrome cards, and this goes back to. It actually goes back to, I think it was 2010 or 2011 when Bryce Harper and Steven Strasburg were big prospects, and their big cards at the time where everybody was chasing their first Bowman Chrome cards. And so I think that is what started it kind of for me, really liking first Bowman Chromes. And so when I started doing this Cubs thing, which I know technically isn't a rookie, right? It's like a prospect card or whatever. But I was like, that's my favorite card of theirs. So if they're a Cub on their first Bowman Chrome, those are the ones I want. And then if they're not, I think I was typically going after their. I'd like to say Topps, because I was buying Topps or Topps Chrome, or I would also do like Topps Heritage, And I think in a few cases I'd even do some archives, just because obviously I like the vintage stuff, and so I like the look of this stuff on those vintage cards, like the designs of those vintage cards. But I don't think it was necessarily it had to be one over the other. I think it's just I think I had my preference was first Bowman Chrome, then maybe Topps Chrome, and then maybe Topps Heritage if for some reason I didn't like the Topps Chrome. And yeah, and it's like, and it comes down to image too. I didn't want, and I don't know if I have any or not, but I didn't want any horizontal cards in the collection, right? I was telling myself like I want to display them, and so I want everything to be displayed upright, and I don't want any horizontals. Yeah. And so I think if, like, let's say one of their Topps Chrome or whatever was horizontal, I would be like, all right, I'm gonna do something else. I'm gonna get a different card of theirs, and maybe that's where I would go to the Heritage or the Archives or whatever else.
Okay.
But yeah, that's kind of how it started.
And that's one of the things okay, the Cubs part of it's kind of gross, but
I disagree. I
know. But the basics of this collection is you made up your own rules to it.
Yeah.
And so, and this isn't a knock against anything, but like the PSA set registry list is a very defined list. Set collectors, the checklist is the checklist. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas this is something, it's just like, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to make up how I do it. I get to pick which players are in it to a degree, right? The player has to have cards.
Yep.
You're going to pick which card, do you want to do it all 2016, or do you want to do it, like you said, the first year that they were on the Cubs, their rookie card, whatever, right? But all these different things in your head, like, you're able to do it for yourself, and it could change over time, which it has, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's definitely evolved, and I still have a lot of that stuff, right, that I was buying, but then it just started to evolve in bigger and better cards and things like that. But yeah, I mean, to your point about that as well, it's like, yeah, I've collected a lot of things, which I still am. I am collecting this Hall of Fame players, post-war rookies, which is a list, right? But that's okay. That's something that every time I've ever stopped collecting and started again, I've always went back to that. I just love, Hall of Fame rookie cards, and but there's been other lists that in things that I've collected and buying stuff just to check a box off that list, and then realizing later that that's just not fun. When I'm buying all these cards to try to complete something just to complete it, and when I'm looking through my cards, like, I'm seeing those cards and they don't do anything for me.
Yeah.
It's just like, why am I doing this? And so, yeah, to your point, this is the type of thing that, it's like, yeah, you make up your own rules and you just have so much fun with, right? It's like everything I'm buying is what I want. I'm not buying anything that I don't want, and that's what's great about it.
Yeah. It's like, it's maybe you know, a couple years ago, you're like, this Chris Bryant card is the one that I really want for it, and then
Hmm.
now it's just like, but I learned of this one, and I
Hmm.
like it more, and you can go after that. You know what I mean? It's just like,
Yeah.
it's like the word you said was fun, and I got a few collections where I do it similar like this. That's why when you started talking about this collection, I immediately latched onto it. Like, that's awesome,
Yeah.
because it's a very similar to how I collect some things. You know
Hmm.
what I mean?
Hmm.
And I just think it's so cool. And so, like, you getting that, you know, the story and what you were thinking out behind it, I think that's awesome. So
Yeah.
when
Well,
you
thank
said
you.
bigger, better cards, like its current form
Yeah. Uh-huh.
is
So, um, yeah. So, okay. So I was getting those cards. And then I think there was a point where I was like, okay, well, if, now certain guys I have, I have one of every card, right? Of each guy, right? And then it's like, well, the guys that were not rookies on the Cubs and I have their first Cubs card, it's like I kind of almost want their rookies as well, right? Because I love rookie cards as well. So then it
everybody loves
evolved,
rookie cards.
right?
Everybody loves rookie cards.
Right. Except you. Um,
No, I love rookie cards. It was, you know, remember that just recently there was a video with John 3D80's kid and
Rookie
Dylan.
cards or
Yeah,
others like or second year cards or whatever it is. But yes, yes.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I so then I started doing that. So then it was like, okay, then I was starting to buy those guys that were not rookies on the Cubs. I was starting to buy their cards, right? And then I would have like two of their cards, but then I only have like one card of the guys that were rookies on the Cubs. And I'm like, well, all right, maybe I like I even it out and I just have two cards of everybody. And then it's like, all right, I'll pick another rookie of theirs or something, right? Um, so that's what I started doing. And then at one point, I was just like, and I don't know how this clicked, but at one point, I was just like, I just need to start, I want to start buying their autos. Like, I want to get an auto of each of these guys. And that's where it started to get crazy, right? Is like, and they're always evolving. So even before I got to the autos, it was always like I'd put a Topps Chrome card, for a certain player in here. And then later on, I'd be like, well, I'd like to get the refractor, and then I'd find the refractor and I'd replace that with the refractor, the Topps Chrome with the Topps Chrome refractor. And so it's like it's always evolving, right? I can always find a better version of whatever card that I have in there. And so what's been good about it though is I've had a whole bunch of extra Cubs stuff, right? And so during these like Mag Pro label trades that I've been doing with guys, I've had a lot of like 2016 Cubs
Oh, okay.
cards that I could send out, So otherwise I'd have to be like giving stuff away in this little collection here. But yeah, and so that's kind of where I am now is I've gotten a lot. I've gotten I think all the big ones out of the way. And so yeah, and it's just that's what it evolved to. And so with the autos, it's turned into first Bowman Chromes, going back to that. I love those cards, and those are my favorite autos as well. So if I can get their first Bowman Chrome auto, that's what I want. And all these autos, the goal is to get them all like pack pulled autos, nothing necessarily in person or anything like that. But some of these guys just I don't think have pack pulled autos. So I'm probably going to have to go down that route of, getting some in-person autos, things like that. But maybe some TTMs, maybe.
Oh,
But
there you go. Yeah.
I've gone that route too. I think there's a lot of these guys that don't really do TTM, but I still might try it anyway. I might just shoot for the stars and send them out anyway and see what happens. But yeah, that's where I am right now is getting all their autos. And then again, this ever evolving process, right? I was buying their first Bowman Chrome autos. And then I think like one of these guys, I stumbled on their first Bowman Chrome refractor auto, and I bought that. And then when you put the refractor auto in your collection, right, next to a regular Bowman Chrome auto, you're like, oh man, these refractors are so much nicer. And so, I've been going down everything since. I've been buying refractor autos, and and yeah, that's kind of where I am now. Is like just and I don't have them for everybody, of course. You know, some guys don't have them, right? So when they don't have a first Bowman Chrome auto, you know, I was buying some of the rookie autos, but there's a lot of those I just don't like the looks of. And so then I'm going back to like, all right, doesn't need to be a rookie auto. I'm okay with just an auto on the Cubs, right? Cubs jersey auto. And so that's kind of where I am now, is like, if I like the first Bowman Chrome autos, I'll do that. If I don't, I just want an auto of them, a rookie auto or an auto on the Cubs. And that's kind of where I'm at now.
So, so like, how many cards like per player are you looking at for this collection right now?
It's only like
On the players,
I think
like,
the most, because I have them all in Mag Pros, right? So they're all in my Mag Pros,
yeah.
and I think I only have the most would be 3 per player. And
like a John Lester would have 3.
here you go,
With
John Lester. Let me show you my 3 John Lester since you brought him up. And so it started with this, right? It started with this card because he was not a rookie on the Cubs, obviously.
Right.
He was on the Red Sox. So this was his first year with the Cubs. And I love the card, right? 66 tops, I believe, right? Just is that the Heritage, right? From the 66 tops. And I just love the card, right? Great looking card. So that was the card that was in my collection to start. Well, then I wanted his rookie, as I mentioned, right? Like, I have their first Cubs card. Well, now I want their rookie card. And this isn't where I started with the rookie. I just bought his Topps update. I think it's a 2006 Topps update. And so I bought that. But then I was like, well, I want a better version of the rookie. So I bought the gold.
Hey, gold's a great parallel, man.
Yeah, exactly. So I love that gold parallel of the Lester rookie. So I have that. And then this wasn't too long ago of a purchase, but I mean, this is a beautiful card. I love the first Bowman Chromes. He happens to have a first Bowman Chrome auto, and I had to buy the refractor. So that's his first Bowman Chrome auto refractor.
Nice.
So there you go. There's that's John Lester, for instance. So I have 3 of his, and yeah, again, first Cubs card, his rookie card, and then his first Bowman Chrome auto.
Okay, and then so like a Kyle Schwarber would have 2 cards.
Kyle Schwarber has 2 cards currently.
Okay.
So this one isn't anything special. This is just his Topps Chrome, but I love the image on it. So that's just his Topps Chrome rookie, but great image on that. And I'm sure there's other variations that I can get, right, that would up this one. But I haven't got there yet. But then this also is a fairly recent purchase. Well, all these autos really are, like the past year. But same thing as the Lester, right? He has this first Bowman Chrome auto refractor.
That's the one that you broke out of the BGS slab, right? Yeah.
Yep. So have that in the Cubs label and broke it out of the BGS, but saved the label there.
Okay. Yeah, because I was wondering how that worked. But you know, so you said let's say 30 players.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of have like a number in mind of like what a complete collection would be with your current guidelines. Yeah, I mean, you might not know off the top of your head, but like if it's a non-homegrown player, they'll have 3 cards. If it's a homegrown player, they'll have 2 cards, right?
Yeah, I mean, but there's probably some. Let me see. Yeah, I mean, you know, but again, there's probably some, like, for instance, Javier Baez, right? Javier Baez, he came up through the Cubs. He was a Cub, so I have his Topps Chrome. And again, I don't know if this is probably a refractor, right?
It looks like a refractor, yeah.
It doesn't say refractor on it, but I don't know. But I have that, right? But this wasn't the first one I bought. The first one I bought, actually, of Javier Baez was his Topps Archives. And so I think this is his Archives. Yeah. So I had this, right? Because I just love the look of it. And so I love the look of this card. So when I was looking for his rookie cards, I was like, this is the one I want to represent in the collection. So I did buy this. But then I also love that Topps Chrome. So I went with that. Okay. But then, of course, I got to get his first Bowman Chrome auto refractor, right? So I picked that up. Yeah, my this front and center face thing or whatever it's called is killing me here. But these are all numbered, so I think that's numbered out of 500. And again, I don't really care about the numbers, but I mean, when I had the original one like this, and then I bought the refractor, and I mean the refractor just, I mean, it's night and day to me how much better the refractors look
Okay.
than the standard First Bowman chromes. So yeah, so for instance, there are, I haven't honed it in completely, right? Like to your point, Javier Baez, I should have 2 cards of his in this collection, and I have 3, but that's okay because that's what I want to do.
Well, that's just it. It's not a should thing.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like what I'm thinking about, because like when I go this route, right? Yeah, I make up my own rules, but then at the same time, I'll do like some sort of standardization to it to kind of keep me focused and moving, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Hmm.
So like if I were doing something similar, I'd be like, okay, yeah, I want the refractors now. Okay, that's the track I'm gonna go, but I stay within that guardrail I made for myself. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Uh, and that's why it's really cool to hear you talk about. No, I want 3 cards. You know what I mean? Like, because it is a different mindset. You know what I mean? And it is a different application to it. But the what I like is, you're like, I started off with, it's very much just Cubs. If their rookie card was a Cub, cool, I get their rookie card. Otherwise, I get their first Cubs card.
Yeah.
It's like my Cardinals Hall of Fame and Museum collection is exactly that. That's the exact rule that I go with.
Yeah.
But then you were like, well, I want their rookie card too. So you show the John Lester, for example. And I think I made this comment to you about your Bears collection, but now your collection kind of shows how the team was built.
Yes.
You
Yes.
see who the free agent acquisitions are, the trade acquisitions.
Yeah. Very good point.
Who is drafted, and so
Mhm.
then it adds a whole another story element to the collection.
Yes. And you
know,
did
and-
say that in my Bears video of where I was showing that stuff. And that was a very good point. And yeah, totally didn't, I have not thought about that since that comment, but you're absolutely right. You can see ultimately by me having their first card when they were on the team, when they came to the team, and how this team was built. Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
And that Javier Baez was, going back to that, it was like, yeah, it started, with, I had his rookie, but then I was going back and getting, the guys that weren't rookies on the Cubs. I was getting their rookies, and it was like, all right, well, I'm gonna throw another Javier Baez in because I'm gonna pick another rookie that I like. So I had 2 of his, right, combined with the 2 of everybody else that wasn't a rookie on the Cubs, and then the auto thing came into play, and so then I picked up his auto. So that's why I end up with 3.
I mean, hell, you could probably end up doing like 3 displays for this collection. You could have the auto display, the rookie display.
I would. So if we're saying 30 cars or 30 players, that's ultimately like 90 cards then, but yeah, that's too many. So that'd be the next thing, right? Is like, I acquire everything that I want, and then I figure out exactly how to kind of narrow it down and what to do with it. And it'll probably end up being like, an auto and my favorite either rookie or their first Cubs card or whatever it is, and then the rest can go in the binder, like you say.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, man, I appreciate you sharing that. That collecting journey when it came to this collection that you have going on. Like I said, these are some of the things that I have most fun hearing about. When people make their videos and whatnot. Like you've done your Bulls ones, your Bears ones. You've talked about this on your channel too. And it's like, I have questions for you kind of thing. And yeah, we have each other's phone number. That's cute. But the comments can only go so far. And that's what people normally communicate on the YouTube, And then you think about like, how many people watch our channels that don't make channels of their own, don't have the same relationship dynamic and whatnot, but they're here to look at baseball cards. They're here to hear about, the stories, the why, the how, and all that other stuff. And so, to kind of pull you away from everything that you normally do and talk about on your videos to focus on this, I think it's a lot of fun. And
yeah, and I appreciate it because it's something, and I don't really know why, but it's something I haven't done on my channel, and I have to at some point. Is I think I always tell myself when I complete this is when I'll do a video on it, But I mean, I obviously show my pickups along the way, but I've never really done a focused video on my Cub stuff, because going back to the beginning of our conversation where we were talking about like how you were saying, I have a lot of different things I collect. So I probably, I have a lot of different people that maybe watch my channel that collect different things. And so sometimes I think it's like, well, if I'm going to do a video on all my Cub stuff, which again shouldn't matter, right? But I'm going to be like, well, probably 90% of the people or 75% of the people who watch my channel are going to have zero interest in this, But again, to your point, it's like, who cares? You just gotta, I just gotta show what I enjoy, and that's what I want my channel to be about, and just show the stuff. So I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to show this stuff.
Yeah, and my viewers appreciate you giving them a break from Ozzie Smith and Yadier Molina.
Maybe something different on your channel other than Cardinals.
Yeah, right.
But really quick, I do have I haven't showed them on my channel yet, but I do have 2 pickups that I've made, and so I'm excited to show them. So
Let's go.
all right. So going back to this whole auto first Bowman Chrome, refractor auto thing. So I had an Anthony Rizzo first Bowman Chrome auto, right? But not a refractor, just the regular auto. And it actually is coming out kind of nice here. But when you look at it in person, it's kind of dark. And it's hard to really see it real good in person. And I was like, man, the refractor would be so much nicer. So one I just picked up and came in this week is the refractor.
Oh man.
And it just shines. You know what I mean? Like, it is such a difference between the 2 cards.
Yeah.
Especially in person. Because like I said, in person, I know this thing or here on camera, it comes across pretty clean in the light, but it's dark in person. Yeah. But so I got that. And so I was really excited to pick that up. And then another one I've been wanting. This is not technically his first Bowman Chrome because he does not have a first Bowman Chrome auto, but this is still a draft. So it's a Bowman Chrome draft. I guess technically probably his second Bowman Chrome card, but it's an auto. And I found it in a blue version, which was perfect for me for the Cubs because he's not in a Cubs uniform in this jersey. But I got the Aroldis Chapman.
Oh, nice.
There we go with that camera thing again, but it's moving on me. But yeah, this is numbered out of 150. And again, I don't really care about the numbering or anything like that. It's just, I thought it was cool. Yeah. And I didn't even normally I don't even want the color refractors. I really don't. I just want the normal refractor. But I saw this one and I feel like I got it for a really good price. I was surprised that the seller accepted my offer on it and picked that up. So those are my 2 newest Cubs collections or Cubs cards to add to this collection. So I probably need like 7 or 8 autos still. And those are the ones that are hard to come by. They're lesser players where it's hard to find their auto, but that's it. I'm getting close.
Yeah, because like an Anthony Rizzo is just going to transact more.
Yeah.
Than a bullpen pitcher just by nature of it, right? Because if, let's say, you had that card and this is not what you collect, that a Rizzo card somebody wants.
Oh yeah.
And you can sell it. Whereas, you know what I mean? So
yeah, and it's one of those things too, is I don't even know if some of these exist, right? Like there is just some, and they're all on my saved searches, and I've never got a hit, on them. And I still go look. I still will type it into eBay, and even though they're on my saved, I'll still search it, and you just get nothing. So I think there's going to be some guys that I'm going to have to just end up. Again, maybe I try a TTM, and if that doesn't work, then I just have to buy a hand signed card.
I'm probably going to butcher this, but are you on Auction Wire?
No, never even heard of it.
You gotta check out Auction Wire.
Auction Wire.
Use promo code Midlife. You get 2 months free or something. But
what is it?
It's actually a website that I want to check out. Mike Moynihan and Greg Miller, Midlife Cards have promoted it, but it's supposed to be like those travel websites where it'll search like all the different sites.
Oh, interesting.
And I guess it's one of those things where it'll search all these auction sites for you.
Yeah, like Travelocity for cards.
Yes. Yeah. So it's something I want to look into myself for. I haven't done it, but they've talked about it on their channels, and so it might
Interesting.
help. And then, have you gone on to Trading Card Database?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, you know what though? So yes, but I didn't know they do. I use it for like checklist stuff. But do you're able to search cards for sale through there, or they sell cards through there?
No, the way I was going to describe it was you can search by player.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's a good idea. You know what? I've used it.
Yeah.
I've never even thought about using it for some of these guys where I can't find autos of them.
Yeah, so
That's a good point.
You can look up Joe Blow and just see if they
Yeah.
even have one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
then, because if they don't, then you know how to, maybe that helps.
Then I know what my next route is, just having to go another route. Yeah, another way.
Yeah, so. But,
good point. Got to do that.
Yeah. But anyway, any last words that you have?
No.
No?
No.
Well, I'm hoping we get to do this again.
Anytime.
I do appreciate you and you taking the time out to do this.
Anytime for you.
Fun, nice distraction. Nice to talk about baseball cards.
Yeah, I agree.
And because we know how the YouTube works, right? This is more towards the end. But if you're wanting to watch a video that wasn't about Strongsville, I hope you liked it. No, but
this is not a Strongsville video.
Yeah. But anyway, this is how we're nerding out to Jeff's 2016 Cubs collection. And I appreciate y'all nerding out with us.